This morning's guest was a boxer, and then he was hit by the Lord, and he never recovered. Now he's on a mission. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People.
In a long time, some people will say, you mean you're still doing the same old thing? We're doing the same old thing, but we broadened out in different concepts, of helping people. Our objective and our goal has always been to reach out to people that need help in their lives.
We've got a guest coming in later this week, Shelby Smith, with the First Tee program, and I saw in reading a little bit about him that he used to even help Christian Mission Outreach, I think with the Thanksgiving, passing out the turkey baskets and otherwise getting involved. You've got volunteers all over the area.
He's a great man to help us. We appreciate Shelby so much. He helps us pass out boxes. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families that sign up for food boxes, at Christmas time and Thanksgiving time. And we do have hundreds of people that are volunteers that work with us on our projects. Mm-hmm. So we thank God for all these many people.
You have volunteers and projects year-round, don't you?
Yes, we do. Our program continues throughout the year because people are in need throughout the year. We give food out to people coming in. And I was thinking earlier, you were talking about road to recovery. When the people come in for food or come in for clothing or some other items in the household, most all of them have problems that go beyond just that particular need.
Right.
Quite often, if I'm not out front there, they'll say, we want to see the preacher, we want him to pray for us, because they've got needs in their family that go beyond just what they're coming in for.
Oh, yeah, very definitely, very definitely. So they're often in to pick up food or to see somebody for some ministry and prayer. And really, oftentimes, they may find that you have programs that suit other needs of theirs.
This is true. We had a lady that come in yesterday, and she came in. I didn't know she came in for food, but they came back to me and said, this lady is in real sad shape. She needs help. She needs prayer, crying and having a lot of problems. So we see all kind of problems that come in with just somebody needing food, and so we thank God that we're there. We're able to counsel with them, and that's been our objective and our goal for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And as you were mentioning a little bit earlier there about our Road to Recovery program, which we've been doing for a couple of months now.
Good. Well, we want to highlight more about that, but real quick for viewers who may not have seen you on Carolina People or seen you on TV 43 even in the past or on the air all over the Carolinas over the years, Jim, are you originally from the area?
We've been here. We've been here for for the 25 years. We've had our offices in this area.
Right.
And around the Charlotte area. We grew up in that area there. We've gone into other states now.
You say we. Thank you. You've said we a couple times now. Who is we, real quick?
We, my wife Jan and I. We've
your
been
co-founder.
Together. Yeah, 48 years, and we do these things together,
Yeah.
And we've been into other states developing TV stations, and then we went back to Eastern North Carolina where we founded Christian Mission Outreach, and then we've had our offices here. We've gone into other states, but our primary objective now, Greg, is to be in this particular area here, serving the Grand Strand area.
Right. Horry and Georgetown
counties.
Right, sure. Which ties into your ministry as well. You're also the Reverend Jim McManus.
Yeah, we've been, I retired back in 1988.
Okay, sure.
Before I ever met you, I was retired, but then I went back into TV, and we've been involved with our Christian work now for all these years.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, they needed a pastor down in Georgetown, so we've been pastoring there at the Independent Nazarene Church.
Is that right? That's tremendous.
Wonderful people, some of the most beautiful families you've ever met.
What a great commitment. Well, I saw some of those people, a lot of the church members at your wife's retirement party from Wachovia, formerly First Union.
Oh, yeah.
She'd been there and had been with them for many, many years.
That's right.
Tremendous retirement party, and a lot of the church members, a lot of your parishioners were there to celebrate her life and her love for serving others.
It was a blessing having you there. My wife, she loves Greg.
She
thinks the world and all of
Greg. More than
Emma
Greg.
Claire, I'm telling you, she thinks the world and all of y'all.
Well, of course, y'all are blessed with two baby girls as well as grandchildren.
They're always babies. Really. I tell you, my baby daughter who lives in Maryland, she's only about 47 years old.
Oh, Jim, yes. Your other daughter, Lisa, is in
Atlanta,
right? Sure.
That's right.
And do they get down here often? Does your daughter get down?
Oh, during school they don't get down that often, but in the summer they try to spend about all summer here if they can.
You do live at Myrtle Beach, that's right.
Oh yeah, and they're all looking forward, Greg, to getting. Hey, we want to come to Myrtle Beach as soon as we retire.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, Greg.
It really is. So the founding of Christian Mission Outreach was actually in eastern North Carolina, but you all expanded it down.
We've had offices
Myrtle Beach
here all along.
Sure.
You're right.
Well, it's fascinating when you think about everything that has to go in. If a viewer's never been to Christian Missions or even heard about it, what's the best way? Can they just pick up the phone to give you a call?
Oh, yeah, they can give us a call. We're located in Myrtle Beach at 4563 Highway 17 Bypass.
Right.
And our telephone number is 293-2411.
2411, easy to remember.
That's
4563 Highway 17 Bypass, a great location over there across from WBTW.
That's right, yes, sir.
On the bypass. A lot of folks know that. It's just a quarter mile south of the back gate.
That's right.
That is a great location,
It
Jim.
is a good location.
When you think about all that has to happen in that location, your ability to really reach out into these two very large counties. You've got the largest county in the state, the fourth largest county in the state, and a lot of needs in those two counties. What are some of the other programs before we get into Road to Recovery?
Yeah. Well, we have an outreach center there in Georgetown, of course, where we pass out food and other items, for families that are in need. And we do counseling for people coming in. We have household items we pass out, like Mr. Smith was talking about a moment ago. Hey, we got a lot of furniture we're going to be giving to you. We don't have the room now, Greg. This is one of the things I want you to help me with. Help us to find a bigger property where we can have a lot of storage room,
Yeah, sure.
But we do try to help in all areas of needs, whatever the families might have. But right now we see so many needs. People are going through trying times, financially, difficult times, and this brings on a lot of pressure. And we were talking about the Road to Recovery, people having alcohol or drug problems, and we have intervention. Now, who do you go to if you've got a problem within your family? Problem that's creating conflict with the husband and wife and children, and you got families that are on the point of separation, on the point of divorce, and you need somebody to help you. Who do you go to? Quite often the pastors, they don't know exactly which way to go. Mothers and daddies have come to us, I'm talking about professional people, don't know where to go to get help for that young person that's going through problems with either the drug or alcohol. So we have what we call intervention. They come to us, they fill out an application, we sit down, we talk with them like I'm talking with you. Hey, let me get some information about you. What is your problem? How long have you had that problem? What kind of drugs are you taking? They name out the drugs that they're taking. Okay?
Wow. It's all confidential.
Alcohol. This is all confidential. They give us all the information. They talk about their family, how many is in their family. And until a person gets to that point in their life where they're really hurting and say, I want help, I need help, and we can't help them until they get to that point. So we have a lot of people come to us, they're not quite ready to go into the program. So when they get to that particular point, we sit down, we do the counseling with them. We in turn find out what their needs may be. We find out how long they've been into this problem, how it's affected their life. Then we look for a program that goes beyond our ability, where it's just counseling and conferences with the family. We find a program that will help them if they need detoxing. That means if they got alcohol or drugs in their system, they got to get that out before we can get them into an intervention program to take them as long as it might take. Some are 30-day programs, some are 60-day programs, some are longer. And some of these programs will cost you up into thousands of dollars.
Oh, easily.
Easily, yeah. I mean, thousands of dollars a day, some of them, and per week. But then we have access to organizations that work with us where they can get in and with no charge.
No charge,
That's right.
Jim.
That's right.
Boy, well, that's a reason to pick up the phone and dial the 293-2411 so that you could help guide them.
And when they come to us, there's no charge.
That's right. Again, it's confidential.
That's right.
And no charge. They're dealing with a specialist, somebody who really knows. Is it all? It's clearly Christian Mission Outreach.
Yeah.
Do the folks need to be Christians or
trying
to get their life together?
People coming into our organization, they don't have to be Christians.
Great.
They don't have to be anybody. All they need is help.
Right.
Somebody comes in and say, I need help. Come on in. We want to help you. My life, Greg, many years ago was to hurt people. I was a boxer for many years.
Right.
You remember that?
That's right. I remember.
And then, I gave my life to Christ, and I said, hey, it changed me. You want to love and you want to help instead of hurt. I was brought up to, to be overbearing, pushy, arrogant, demanding, and winning. You had to win at everything. And then when you learn to love, you learn to respect. You learn that Jesus brought the concept of love.
Right.
And so we learned to help people.
Were you still in the ring, Jim, when you fell in love with the Lord? Were you still pummeling people, or were you out of the ring at that point?
Greg, as long as I can remember.
Can you be a Christian, a boxer? I mean, could you be?
You can, but it's extremely difficult. I've thought about that a lot. That's a tremendous question.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that a lot. And I said,
it is
well,
7 a.m. You're getting called early in the morning. We need you to cut off
one of the
that
things
phone.
we had to, you don't want to do is you don't want to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And in boxing you got to be overpowering. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's sort of a soul battle there. But anyway, I got out of boxing and I got into teaching and I got into the ministry, and the same. It's a different world when you want to help people instead of hurt people.
Absolutely. That's tremendous, Jim. And clearly your road to recovery and so many of the other programs are helping people,
Reaching out
and
to
helping
help
people. And of course, you mentioned the Thanksgiving, the program of handing out baskets. Are there needs of Christian mission outreach? Clearly, y'all are out helping people. Do you have needs on a regular basis throughout the year?
Tremendous needs. During this time of year, the economy is slow, of course. It's a tourism area, and we always need funding because we continue to help people throughout the year, and we need volunteers.
Right.
Like, for example, this week I had about 4 of our volunteers that come in regularly to pass out. These volunteers called in, a couple sick, a couple out of town.
Right.
So you always need volunteers.
Good. How and of course there's some administrative duties in the office as well. If they're not able to pick up heavy boxes or move furniture, you have some needs in the office as well. Sure.
Answering telephones, talking to people, getting applications filled out.
Good.
And going back, filling up food boxes. Greg, you see your position. You're president of several different corporations.
Small companies.
At one time, I was sort of up in the field of broadcasting.
Absolutely.
And had our own company, and I was president of the company and so on. But to go from there down to filling a food box and to reaching out to somebody who comes in and maybe they hadn't had a bath in a couple of weeks.
Right.
People that we deal with that are living out here in a tent. I've had numerous people that didn't have anywhere to go. And you're working with people such as this. You're talking with them about their problems. You get them food. You counsel with them. So there's a little different thing. But when you go home at night, it's tremendously gratifying. You have a good feeling deep down in your heart.
Yes, Jim. I remember when we were together at South Carolina Bank and Trust, the early part of last year. You also highlighted your prison ministry. You've been involved in ministering to prisoners year after year, Jim. That must be very gratifying.
You've got a good memory. We do. We do go into prisons. We do go into jails if I'm called. Wherever they may be.
Right.
And I just recently had one of the prison inmates who got out just a couple of months back.
Great.
And they're back into society in a different city. But we still do. I had a call within the past couple of days. He says he's doing well and getting ready to get married. So, we follow up on him. We have a follow-up program.
That's an interesting idea when you think of the road to recovery, dealing with alcohol and drugs. There's almost a road to recovery for folks getting out of prison.
It's
recovering back to the to normal society.
A big step in anybody's life is coming out of prison or coming out of jail, getting back into society, getting a job, being accepted back in the community.
Right. That must be.
Yes,
and of course, the ability over the years during your prison ministry, you've clearly seen a lot of people get out, and that transition has got to be one that takes a little bit of time there.
We have our follow-up program, aftercare we call it. For example, we had a young lady she was a drug addict, and we got her into a program, if we did our counseling and counseling with her family and so on. And we had a call yesterday. She's into the second stage of the program, doing well.
Right.
And they go through, Greg, when they go through the detox, they climb the walls. They feel like they're going to die,
Right.
And then they get through this and they go into the next program. We put them into the next program, And so it's extremely gratifying to see an individual come out of that and go into the next program, and then we follow up with that, and then after that we have the aftercare where we talk with them and counsel with them back into society.
Now, Jim, if I had a heroin problem and my wife wanted to come in to talk to you, would she'd be able to come in clearly confidentially, but are you going to be able to help if I'm not interested in coming in, if only my wife or my family members or my children were willing to come in to talk to you about it? Are you really going to be able to make a difference if I'm not interested in doing anything?
Quite often, we do have an individual come in by themselves. Usually, a husband and wife are both very much involved and affected. We don't have to counsel with each of them, but
right.
we need to have that relationship to where we can talk with all of the family members.
Yes.
If you've got a problem where you've got, for example, I've got an individual out of state and one that is in state here. They're going through a separation.
Right.
And it's extremely difficult to bring a couple back together unless they can both sit down at the table. I can't do counseling with one, counseling with the other at separate times and bring them back together.
Right.
So if that is involved now, that's a different situation than getting somebody into a drug rehab program.
Right. You shared with us earlier this morning before we started filming that you'd been with a family recently, and you were driving home that point about it's not just the husband and wife or the boyfriend, girlfriend. It is much more than that. Share with viewers the significance. That was very profound. Share with viewers about how it's not just the
one
boy,
individual,
the man, woman.
That's a very good point, Greg. I sat down. I says, I just want to. Now these are the people that I've talked with.
Right.
There's about 10 families immediately involved. The girl, the boy, each of their families, the mothers and daddies on either side, the brothers and sisters. You had about 10 families that were immediately involved,
right.
and all these families had several people in the family. That did not include any of their friends or any of their close associates,
right.
or their job. So you've got a lot of people involved when somebody's going through a trying problem of some kind with drugs or alcohol.
If I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, my wife, her brothers and sisters, her parents, my two brothers, my parents, their wives, parents, everyone is familiar with their loved ones' drug problem. They're trying to help. And then, as you said, that doesn't even touch friends and family.
That's right.
Friends and business co-workers.
Powerful. It really is, Greg. It has so much effect on an individual's life. And there are people. Now, I've got one working with me now who's a recovering alcoholic and doing such a tremendous job. And he knows the ramifications of the programs that you go to and, all the troubles that you're involved with your family and everything. So it's beautiful what
Let's
God
talk
is doing.
about how donations flow into Christian Mission Outreach and where, let's say, if someone had $200 to give you, where are the greatest needs within Christian Mission Outreach, let's say on March 10th? Where would those dollars go if they were to make a donation today? Could they pinpoint where they wanted to go, if they wanted to go to Thanksgiving baskets or the Road to Recovery, or if they just said $200, you do with it as you want, or $500, where are those dollars going to go, Jim?
It's sort of like a church. If they can specify, say, Road to Recovery, say, I want my money to go to Road to Recovery. Well, that's where it'll go.
Right.
To pay for expenditures that go into that particular program.
Right.
If they want to buy food, that's exactly where it'll go. If they want to give, like, for example, you go to a church and you say, well, I'm going to give a $5,000 gift to my church.
Right.
Well, sometimes you might specify, but otherwise you say, we're going to put it into the hands of these that are responsible for doing what they need to do with that money, as stewards, good stewards of God. So, for example, I had a company to give us 2 truckloads of clothing. New clothing.
2 truckloads.
2 truckloads.
Where
2
can
truckloads.
you store all that, Jim? You highlighted
We don't have much.
location
Stack it up high.
Yeah.
But anyway, I smiled at him because he was somebody that I knew. I smiled and said, okay, now, you give me 2 truckloads of clothing. How much are you going to give me to distribute this for? Everything, Greg, you know this, everything that happens, this television program costs money.
Don't say it, please. Remind me, Jim.
The Herald it costs money. Everything you do costs money.
To get it out.
If you pass out 2 truckloads of clothing, there's going to be an expense involved. You got phones, you got offices, you've got heating, you've got all the expenditures that go with it. So they can specify any particular area. And anybody who might have a problem with drugs or alcohol, they would say, hey, I'd like for you to talk with my son or my daughter. Or I'd like to come and talk. The confidentiality. Call, hey, I'd like to talk with Reverend Jim or Tony or one of the counselors there. Give us a call.
And Tony really beats the street for you. He's out constantly. I guess everyone, because there is that need. If someone gives you something, you've got to be able to distribute it. You've got to be able to get the baskets out. You've got to be able to get food out. You have to have funds to operate, and as you said, to keep the operation flowing. So y'all need to be out, letting people know how great the needs are. You wouldn't be celebrating 25
years
if you weren't doing a tremendous mission.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, Greg, big ones and little ones that have come and gone in 25 years.
Right.
I thank the Lord that we're still there. Bills are still paid. We're still passing out food, and even if it's in the evening hours or whatever it may be, if somebody calls, a family that's in distress, hey, we're out of food, we don't have clothing for the kids or whatever, we deliver it to them. If they don't have transportation, we'll take it to them.
How did you meet the Lord in the first place, Jim? Where was that? At an early age? Was that when you could really begin thinking? I mean, was that while you were pummeling people? We talked a little bit about that, obviously. I mean, what was it that, how did you and God connect?
You know, it's a beautiful thing, Greg. I can remember when I was 7 years of age, I was in Sunday school, and I can remember I had an experience with the Lord, invited Christ to come into my life.
Really?
Now, you go through stages of where you're in service, you're in college, you do things. I might have not been in that perfect step with the Lord all my life, you know. The Bible says, for all have sinned to come short of the glory of God, except for Christ Jesus alone. So there's sin in each of our lives. But when I was, after I graduated from college and started teaching school, and I was still doing radio at night, you know.
Right, sure. You
had
were
a
on
family,
air, yeah.
Lord, yeah.
Right.
And I, being in church, you know, and here I was. I had a little education. I'd learned to talk a little bit, and so I went into help the pastor in lay speaking. That's when I just got out of college, and then I spoke in various churches and in our church, and then went into full-time ministry. You know, been doing it for many years now.
Yeah, Jim. Well, clearly in the Road to Recovery, a 4-step program there. We just got a couple of minutes. Intervention, evaluation, placement, and then aftercare.
Aftercare.
Each of those steps, that early step, as we talked about, you know, in the intervention side, you have to have a real desire. If I still have a cocaine problem, my wife or girlfriend or whomever coming in to talk to you is not going to make much headway until I say, I really need help.
That's exactly right, Greg. They got to be to that point in their life where they say, I had a client come in this past week.
Right.
That when we sat down with our conference, we talked for maybe 2 hours, you know, and conferring. And he felt like, well, hey, I don't need to go to that. I'm not that hard. And then his call back and said, hey, I need the program.
Right.
You know?
He or she can tell, whoever's sitting there can tell quickly that love abounds in the office, but also clearly that you all can make a difference.
It can make a difference in their life. Put a family back together and bring it, you know, there's nothing harder than to see a young man, a young woman split with kids that are involved, all their families.
Any example over the last many years that Road Recovery has been going on, or through your mission outreach here, Jim, that really stands out in your mind? Have you had any singular story that really stands out? Any families that were brought back together thanks to Christian Mission Outreach?
I definitely so.
Probably too many to mention.
Too many to mention, but in this particular area here, and a person that we'd worked with for many years, a number of years, who had problems and who had tried to get into different rehabilitation programs, you know, who just couldn't make it. But we never gave up on them. We continued to counsel. We continued to stand with them. Lost their wife for a period of time. Lost everything they had. We never gave up on them. We continued to counsel with them until finally we saw them come back together. The person go through, get rehabilitated. They're living together. They have their family back together. There's happiness in the home, and they're living a good Christian life. I've seen it happen firsthand. But this is just one story.
Lastly, Jim, what makes you tick? What keeps you going and so focused on Christian Mission Outreach?
You know, Greg, I know 77 years comes and goes real fast. But, and sometimes my days get long, and, you wonder, hey, man, I'm retired. But, 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, and you go home and you're tired, your body's tired. But, to be able to help somebody, to feel like, my gosh, that one person that I helped yesterday, or that person that I helped the day before, and who were really down, boy, you feel like, hey, man, I mean, there's a gratification, a feeling deep down within your bosom, man, that you've done something good, and the next day you can't wait to get up to go help somebody else. There's something that is there that nothing else can give you.
That's great. Jim, sorry we've run out of time. Hey, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you, Jim. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with the co-founder and chief executive officer of Christian Mission Outreach. Jim McManus, coming up next. If he wanted to, he could stop. Why doesn't he just quit? I quit. Why can't she quit? She's just so weak. Ultimately, what you're trying to ask yourself is, what can I do? Whether it's you or a loved one that's impacted by alcohol addiction, drug addiction, there's something that can be done about that. There's a road to recovery. Christian Mission Outreach has stepped up to the plate in a big way. You can learn how to get involved either as a volunteer, as a donor, as a sponsor, or if you know somebody. Jim McManus was sitting here, Reverend Jim McManus, sharing with us how you can do it and how it can be done on a cost-free basis. Take the time to learn more about Christian Mission Outreach and all of its outreach services. Pick up the phone, 843-293-2411, 843-293-2411, or pop by the Christian Mission Outreach office there at 4563 Highway 17 Bypass South in Myrtle Beach, about a quarter mile south of the back gate of the Air Force Base. Take the time to learn more. Jim and his lovely wife, Jan, more than 25 years ago, making a commitment to make a difference in so many lives. They can be involved in your life too. Take the time to learn more about Christian Mission Outreach. Jim, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. My pleasure.